I'm creating this video as a testament for me to remember to be grateful. Where I was a few years ago is nowhere near where I am right now. And the best testament to that is really my own history. The reason why I'm grateful to begin with is just because of the background and what I've been through to get to this level. For those of you that don't know, I've created my own agency and I've currently scaled my agency to around $100,000 per month. I have a few partners and I have an amazing team to back me up to be able to do this. And I want to help other people who are struggling, who are in similar circumstances, do the same thing. When I first started thinking about business, I was 22 years old for context, and now I'm 24. The very first company that I started failed. The second company that I started failed. The third, fourth, fifth, and sixth all failed. And the only one that actually made me money, that got me to $100,000 per month, is the seventh company. So it took me 7 tries. Before I even started all this, the main thing that I was doing was tech. I graduated from university. I was living the life of somebody who was dreaming to finish college so then I can finally go and do and work the 9-to-5 job so I can have a stable job position and I can finally happily ever after get married, buy a house, be in debt, not get the car that I want, continue to be in debt, until I met a group of individuals that changed that mindset for me. And it was my friends. My friends were always talking about business. My friends were always interested in business. And naturally, any friend group my age at the time, 22, 23-year-old individuals, right now I'm 24, was interested in business. I went back to work one day and I was driving about an hour out of my way in an old Toyota Corolla every single day to go to work. And I saw my boss. My boss was the individual that everybody listened to. He was the man that took out fires when fires happened. He was the individual that talked to his managers, and he was the person who managed the whole entire system, gave us deadlines, told us what to do. He was the guy. He was the person that we went to. He put me in charge of a bunch of individuals. He was the person that everybody looked up to. This is the guy that my team wanted to be like. I mean, if you ask them and you go to them and you say, what do you want to be in 3 to 4, maybe even 5 years down the line? They would say, just like him. His name was Nima at the time. And one day when I was going into work, I saw him driving a very old BMW. This was a very old, sort of 2015, older-ish BMW SUV. I've always had an interest in cars, and that to me wasn't interesting. The fact that he didn't have a cooler car and he didn't live the lifestyle that he probably wanted and that he had to go into work every single day wasn't really fun for me to see. Fast forward a little bit, later on that day, I was doing my job, minding my business, and I overhear him having a conversation with his wife. Although it's a little bit personal, he was yelling at her and they were having an argument, and he just seemed really frustrated because his managers were on one side telling him that he should be a certain type of way. His wife, from what I overheard, was having arguments with him. He was driving into work every single day, and all that stress for something that he didn't own. I took a step back and I started thinking, and I said, what are the possibilities? What can I potentially do to not live like that person's lifestyle? Rather than trying to be somebody on social media, I asked myself and said, how do I not become like this person? And long story short, the answer that I got to was starting a business. The very first business that I started was a drop shipping business. What we were selling, me and my friend, was a 3D pen. Now, mind you, I didn't know anything about the logistics of drop shipping. I didn't know how to find the right product, had no idea how to do ads, how to contact the manufacturer. I didn't know. My friend did. So he was pulling all the weight. I wasn't doing any of the work. I felt sort of useless at the time because I didn't know enough to be able to help. I just knew that I was interested and I wanted to learn. I just didn't know how to do anything. Fast forward a little bit, the next business that I started was also a drop shipping business, and it was a facial cleanser. Before we even launched, we decided to give up on the idea because it was really difficult, and we found out that that face cleanser had a patent on it, and we might, mess up trying to sell it in the US. Afterwards, I finally said, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to do business anymore. It's not the right thing for me. I want to go back to work. While I was doing that, I stumbled across a few videos online that were talking about agencies and how agencies worked and why agencies could make a lot of money. I was watching the videos. One of them was Iman Ghazi's video, which a lot of people did watch. That made me really want to start a business. So what did I do? I said, you know what? Rather than trying to look for products, find a winning product, learn ads, do all these things, why don't I just start something? Create an LLC, create something that could potentially be of significance one day. I built it up. Long story short, that also failed. I'll tell you why I failed in just a moment. But I had that business for about a year, really. During the time that I had that business, I met other individuals who had businesses. I created my podcast. If you guys want to go and see it on my YouTube videos section, you can see my podcast there. I met a lot of people through my podcast. So I said, what can I learn from these individuals? The main reason as to why I started a podcast in the first place was to introduce myself to individuals and meet people that I can work with, who I can learn from. I only closed, in about 8 months time span, one client. I've only closed one client at the time. It was $500, felt like it was $1 million, and it was somebody who I knew, and later on gave me equity in their company, so then I became a co-owner in a tutoring company as well. That didn't last very long because he went on to create his own venture that I wasn't a part of. I was doing my own thing. That was probably the 4th business that I had at the time. Then I rebranded the same business that I had to start selling employee retention credit, which those of you who don't know, it's a government program. It was essentially funding businesses that had W-2 employees. Because of COVID, obviously all the employees were at work, so the business was helping them out. And as we were getting the businesses funded, I was taking a percentage of every single business that I helped fund. So I built up a 26-person sales team. I got my people skills good. I started being able to communicate with people. But even then, the money never came. It's funny that I'm making this video today because I just got paid for it right now. Long story short, the money never came. And it took about a year and a half for the money to even process just because of how the government works and how slow they are to move. But it was sort of a pyramid scheme. Borderline though, I learned how to work with salespeople and I learned how to build a sales team. I learned how to cold call. I learned about processes and things that need to be done and who to assign to what. And I still have the information of all the people that I worked with. I go back to it every now and then. It's super nostalgic for me. Afterwards, I said, it's not really working. Then I built another business and I called it Omni CRM. And that's my current business now. Omni, about a few years ago, was originally a software product. So I was white labeling another software tool to resell it to individuals. I got one sale doing that. That sale was about $100. Felt like it was amazing. I felt like I was finally getting somewhere, but just never felt like I had enough. At the time, I left that older job position, found a new one that allowed me to work from home. So I want to say, while I was working from home, all I was doing was focusing on the business, making money from the company that I was working with, but ultimately never making the money that I truly wanted to make. I never really made money instantly. It always took longer than I wanted, longer than I expected, and it almost felt like it was never my choice when I made money. The universe would just drop things on me every now and then, and I'd have money into my hands, and that was sort of the idea there. And finally, when I built up current business that I have right now, I met my partner at a birthday party. Mind you, I met him through an individual that I had at a podcast, so it was completely by chance. His name is Zain, and he's a current partner of mine. And we were enjoying our time at a birthday party. Everybody was there. It was Zain's birthday party at the time. Zain goes to Yarden, who's my current co-founder, and says, you should talk to this guy. He's really trying to hustle, really trying to start something. You two should get to know each other. I didn't know the guy. Yarden, funny enough, my co-founder, he was traveling and he just happened to be back in the US. Prior to that, all he did was just travel and do ads, and he had a 9-to-5 as well. So we got together and he messaged me one day, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks after I met him, saying, we should start a business. I didn't know the guy. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what to do. So I said, look, I have this LLC that I created. I've only made this much money. I don't know what else to do. If you want, try it out. Here's the company. I'm happy to give you a percentage. We can partner onto something, but ultimately, I didn't expect anything. Long story short, we got into LinkedIn automation and LinkedIn marketing because Zain, the person who introduced us, knew about LinkedIn marketing and he had his own business and he had his own company. So long story short, we're like, let's try it. Why not? What could go wrong? After we finally set up our first campaign, our first marketing campaign, we got one person to respond to a message that we sent to them. And they said, "I'd like to learn more." And at that time, we were jumping up and down. We were ecstatic. We were happy. We said, we're going to be so rich. Long story short, we didn't get rich. We had to figure out a lot of obstacles and a lot of things that needed to be done. We really didn't know what the next step was or where to go. And to explain a little bit more about the type of marketing that we do, we use LinkedIn to do outreach. So basically what we're doing is, I have a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn gives you a database of founders, business owners, CTOs, titles that need marketing. They need help. They need a way to generate their own business. They're looking for solutions. So all we did was reach out to them via our LinkedIn accounts. And as simple as it sounds and as easy as it sounds, and I had a lot of people tell me that it's super easy, but come to find out, it's not as easy as people make it out to be. When we finally learned how the system works and we trained ourselves, we started reaching out to a few individuals and we had some conversations. Most of the time, people just thought we were kids that had no idea what we were doing. But one time we landed our first client. That first client was $650. We were through the roof. And funny enough, the way that we landed that client wasn't even because of our marketing efforts on LinkedIn, but it was actually because of a referral. We just knew somebody who knew somebody. We had that client, we were happy, we built our first case study on that client. This was a few years back. We finally continued to do more and more outreach. Month 2, it took us 2 months to close our first deal on LinkedIn, and it was a $1,500 deal. We were amazed, we were so happy. That client ended up leaving after a month. We continued to network with people. Most of our clients came through people that we knew and not through our marketing channel. And we had no clue how to convert somebody who we didn't know into somebody who was paying us. But we had passion, we had the skills, we were ready to learn. And Yarden, my co-founder, is extremely good at sales for some reason. He doesn't have a massive sales background, but he's really good at logic, he's really good at convincing, he's very intellectual and very smart, he has amazing people skills. He helped out tremendously in building this business. I was more on the back end. I was doing some sales, not all the sales. A lot of sales were coming through us because there was a point where it was me taking sales calls and him taking sales calls. So we both got very good at sales, but it was primarily him closing most of the business. I was working with the team. I was helping build the team. I was helping build the processes, build the systems, increase client satisfaction. The more that you get into this rabbit hole, the more there is to fix. More money, more problems, of course, they always say. You will one day realize that there's no perfect solution. You're trying to perfect something that's naturally imperfect, such as a business or marketing efforts. So it's impossible to perfect this. If there is a perfect business, you'd already be a billionaire. You'd have multiple billions of dollars. There's no such thing as perfect, and there's always problems. We continued to try to get more clients and finally started to close some deals in our business. During that time, we were making about $5,000 to $6,000 each between me and my co-founder with a 50-50 split. That was about less than $3,000 per month because we have expenses. So each person was making around $1,500 every single month. And that was on top of my 9-to-5 revenue. One day I joined a meeting, and during the time that I had this business, one day I get a call from my manager and he says, "You've been with us for about 9 months. What have you been doing this whole time?" And I told him, "Hey, I'm working on this. I'm looking to learn." They saw me as somebody who was incompetent. They saw me as somebody who didn't want to learn, who didn't have the capacity to learn. While in the background, what I was doing is building my whole entire empire. So he comes to me in the meeting and says, "I want to give you another week, another couple weeks. I want to see your performance. Let's see how things go." I say, "You know what? Perfect. Let's do it." We continue to work. About a week later, he calls me again and says, "You're done. You're out." I had 2 choices to make at the time because I didn't have a job anymore. They kicked me out. They let me go. So either find a new job because I'm not making any money or continue to work on my business. At the time, that was probably one of the most difficult decisions that I've had to make. Choose the business that's barely making me any money or get another job to be able to actually sustain myself. And I spoke to my family, and specifically my mother. She was on my side with whatever I chose, but also gave me the pros and cons to both options. I knew I believed in myself. I knew I had more that could happen in my life, but I didn't know if and when I can finally start making money again and be able to sustain my life. I had no idea where the next paycheck was coming from. What I did was I convinced my family that everything will be fine, and their golden boy son, the guy who graduated from college, makes enough money and can sustain himself, and don't worry, I'll have everything taken care of. At the time, my parents were starting to get old, and this was, mind you, a few years back, and they felt like they needed somebody to support them. When they grew old, they wanted to just see that somebody can support them financially if they need it. It didn't look like I would be that person for the longest time, especially without a job. So what I did was I was taking what little money I was making in this business, putting it in front of them to say, I'm making money. Don't worry, I got this covered, just to give them some more comfort and sustainability. I just put that money with them, and I used that money to pay for bills, pay for a few things, because I had to pull my weight in the house, and at the time I was living with my parents. I was like, don't worry guys, we'll be fine. Everything will be fine. At the time, I was still barely making any money, and I was paying for everything. I was barely making money. We were reinvesting every penny back into the business. I was zeroed out. All I had was a credit card that had multiple thousands of dollars in it that I had to pay off, and I did not know how to pay it off. Every single month I would pay the minimum, and I was in debt a few $1,000s. My co-founder came to me and he said, look, I know what you're going through. What I can do is I can lend you some money. And I was like, don't worry about it. We'll get this taken care of. We'll have this covered. I don't need money. I don't like taking money from people. Slowly but surely, we finally built up the company just a little bit more. We got to $10,000 a month. And the way that we did that was by pure volume. We were just doing more marketing, talking to more people, doing more marketing, talking to more people, doing more marketing, talking to more people. After we got there, I was finally making enough money to be able to at least just cover the bills, at least just do something with that money. And maybe every other month I'd be able to pay off my credit card that had a bunch of debt on it, just so I can tell myself I'm not fully screwed. And finally, the breakthrough happened. We added more marketing accounts. We were speaking to more people. We were slowly building our company up. For a few months, I made about $6,000, which was around more than I was making at my 9 to 5. And I told myself, I'm happy. I'm done. This is it. A couple months go by and I'm making the same exact amount. And I look at myself in the mirror and I say, more can be done. I know I could do more. Fast forward a few months, we do more accounts, add more people, do more marketing, increase the team. Then we finally start to make each $10,000 every single month. And we're like, what the hell? I can save up that money. I can put a down payment on a house if I save up for a few months. Everything was great until the system that we were using to generate marketing and generate leads for ourselves went down. It wasn't working like how we wanted it to work. A lot less people were talking to us. You can imagine if you talk to more people and you do more marketing, you'll just automatically make more money. We had no idea what to do after, but what we did know was that there's other systems and other tools that we can use. So we fully migrated systems. And after fully migrating the systems, we said, you know what? More marketing. We don't want to make money now. I'm happy to spend all the money in the world to get more marketing accounts, make more money, so then we can later make more money. And then the magical month, the month that we made $30,000. That's $15,000 each in gross revenue and about $11,000 to $12,000, if not a little bit more, in profit for me and for my partner both. And that was the holy grail of the business. We were done. We made it, finally, until we plateaued. We had the service offering, we were selling marketing, we were selling the same marketing system to people that we got through our marketing system. We were using a marketing system to get clients for ourselves and then sold them the same exact marketing system that got them on the call in the first place because it worked so well. Long story short, we plateaued. We didn't know what to do or where to go. Finally, we had the brilliant idea of changing up our offer. Now, for those that don't know, I need to make a completely separate video about offers. I need to talk about why offers are good, why offers are bad, and how an offer can differentiate yourself from a market completely. So we said, instead of paying us up front, why don't you only pay us if we get you a result? And that offer skyrocketed. We went from having 4 to 5 new clients start every single month, to having 1 client a day, to 2 clients. And afterwards, our team had to scale. We were making so much money. Everyone was signing contracts. Everyone was starting. Everyone was coming in. And it was the most beautiful thing to see in the world. We optimized our onboarding team. We built a team that spoke to our clients that we brought on. And after we changed our offer, we had so many more clients coming in and so many other individuals. We built a whole entire system and a whole entire onboarding team that then helped us scale our business because they were talking to the clients and starting them. We optimized everything. We brought in project managers. We brought in account managers, people to manage the clients, and we built up our company to a record-breaking month of about $60,000. We doubled our business from just 1 change in an offer. And that's the most beautiful thing about business, because you'll plateau, and after you plateau, it's just up. Then you'll plateau again, and it's just up after that. Long story short, then we went back down the next month to around $50,000 a month. And that was still great. We were still making money, each pulling about $15,000 to $16,000 each, and it was great. Until we realized that the only way for us to get more money in the door is to do more volume. And the only way for us to do more volume is to talk to more people. So we brought on 2 more salespeople. We had me and my co-founder selling, so we had 4 individuals. We increased our marketing, doubled down on what we know works, and now we're bringing in an immense amount of money. And that's the story of how I built my first agency. Right now, my goal is to help other people fast forward the process that took me 3 years to figure out, to build their own LinkedIn marketing agency or similar agency, and using my experience with creating offers, not only for myself, but also for my clients, to make money. And if you got anything out of the story, the most 2 important things is A, if you quit, you're just not gonna make it. Statistically speaking, if you continue to work, you cannot fail. If you continue to try, you cannot fail. If you position yourself to be lucky, you will be lucky. If you position yourself not to be lucky, you're just not gonna be lucky. And the second most important aspect is that volume negates luck. And all volume is just leverage. You're leveraging people who work with you. You're leveraging more money put into marketing, you're leveraging automated systems, and the more leverage that you have, the more you'll be able to do. It's easier to move a rock when you have a longer stick than it is to move a rock when you have a smaller stick. And the more leverage that you have, the more you'll be able to get done and the more money that you make. In our past in the business, we've always grown by a little bit, just enough, plateaued, grew a ton, plateaued for a few months, grew a ton, plateaued, grew a ton. And the only times that we grew is when we had that aha moment, when we realized and said, what if we change this? What happens then? It's never about the money, and it's never been about the money. It's always been about figuring out the next thing. My passion is helping individuals out do the same thing. And if this video helps you out, leave a like, maybe even subscribe. This is my story, this is who I am, and in the next couple of years, I'll only have more stories to tell and more things to say, more people to meet. If you're interested in having a quick conversation, my Instagram is in the description. Feel free to go ahead and follow me, reach out to me on Instagram. I don't have a massive following yet, but I'm happy to speak to anyone who's available, help them out with their business, and maybe we can connect. Thank you for watching this video, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope this video inspires you not to only stay consistent, but to do better, think outside the box, and maybe one day you'll be able to scale your business and double on your business just because of consistency.